Was the second leading cause of death in the U.S. in 2013, and the American Cancer Society expects almost 10,000 new cases this year just in New Mexico. But without genetic counseling, knowing who is among these statistics is impossible. Today we have certified genetic counselor Shauna Ryan. She's been following genetic research in cancer and helping patients really make sense of genetics when it comes to this. So let's start here. What should people be looking for if, maybe a family member or two have cancer? Should they be getting tested immediately?
I think the genetic counseling process is very important. That allows us to determine who is appropriate for testing.
Okay.
And we can give the patient the information so they can make an informed decision.
And things have been changing.
Things have changed rapidly. That's one of the biggest challenges in the field. And I am fortunate to be working at the UNM Cancer Center so that I can keep abreast of that information. And of course, being an NCI designated cancer center, we contribute a lot to the research as well.
What types of cancers are you guys seeing that are more linked to genetics?
What most often comes to mind for patients and providers is breast cancer. For instance, we will see patients who may have a concern about their family history of breast cancer. And that allows us to determine if genetic testing is appropriate. And if we do find a hereditary predisposition, the patient then can make decisions about, do I want to have surgeries to reduce my risk of developing cancer? Or we have a high-risk screening clinic at UNM that the patient can partake in, so the patient can be proactive with their health care.
And celebrity Angelina Jolie's really brought this to the forefront, brought it to light, really, with her drastic decisions, that some would call drastic, really taking her life into her own hands and saying, I'm going to make changes to my body because of genetic research, showing her mother had these types of cancers. What are you guys looking for to know if somebody could potentially maybe get cancer later on because of genetics?
We will take into consideration the individual's personal history and their family history and determine if genetic testing is appropriate, which genes should we test for, and we will educate the patient about, well, if you have a mutation in one of these genes, what does that mean for you? So the patient can make the decisions that are right for them.
Instead of just waiting.
Correct. So we want to be proactive. And that's the benefit of genetic counseling and genetic testing is that, like you've already mentioned, the patient themselves can be in control of their health care through genetic testing and being part of a multidisciplinary clinic.
And as scary as it is to hear the word cancer, some people may be afraid to actually hear, what they're going to be going through as far as testing. Is it pretty intensive, pretty extensive as far as what you guys have to do?
It can be a longer process because we have to get information from the patient regarding their personal history and their family history. And then we give them a lot of information. And then if there is that emotional component for the patient and fears, we explore that with them as well.
So you give them several options. On what they should or should not do, and ultimately let them make the decision.
It's an informed decision-making process.
Absolutely. Real fast, for all of your viewers at home, what should they, maybe if they're in certain categories, what should they be looking out for if, a family member has cancer?
Typically, hereditary cancers will occur at an earlier age of onset than is typical for that cancer.
So if like your uncle or your father had cancer, maybe in his early 30s.
Or say premenopausal breast cancer. Combination of breast cancer and ovarian cancer in one person, the same family. And individuals can come for a genetic counseling assessment to get information.
Give us information as to where they can find you guys.
Through the UNM Cancer Center website.
Very important though. Even as scary as it sounds, it could be worse if, you don't get this tested and then later on you do hear the word cancer. I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. Some great information here. If you want to see a recap of all this, go to our website, KRQE.com. We'll have the entire interview there. We'll be right back.